be one of you, but I'm about to drop a big steaming country sausage on everything you hold dear.
Well, that guy was a dick. So I've got some bones to pick with this Spicebeard guy. First of all, he's not even a human, because he's obviously just me playing a bit. Alright, so yeah, the bit's over. Spicebeard is me. Shocking. If you're new to this channel and enjoyed the spicier version, sorry, that's not usually how this channel goes. Honestly, my anxiety disorder is just too much to keep up with that. I originally planned to do this 2-part video, with the first one being a spicy, tough love take sparking discussion, and then a second one with more nuance, which would have been this video. But then, literally the day after my original video aired, the streets exploded into a movement way more important than what I'm talking about. So, I guess bad timing on my part. Awkward. I mean, folks are in the streets demanding justice for Black lives, actually forcing local governments to consider defunding police, even setting up autonomous regions inside the USA. At this point, it's less clear if there will even be an election, or at least if anyone's gonna care about it. But just leaving it hanging as me being a dickhead that thinks people voting are somehow stupid can potentially send the wrong message. So I don't want to end up causing more harm by leaving the work unfinished. But with everything going on, I think I'm just going to do a quick unscripted piece trying to explain a bit about my last video. And I will be releasing some videos soon on what to look out for as far as retaliation to the uprisings. I've got a few new subscribers since my last video, and I'm assuming at least some of you are liberals. If you're not, I'm glad you watched the video anyways, but try to remember that if you got angry, it wasn't really meant for you. I was specifically striking matches with liberals, and if you are a liberal, it's actually totally okay if you got upset too. I know I was being a pretty big jerk, and it's good for you to not just immediately jump totally on board with someone when they present you with a new argument. That was actually kind of the point. I was purposely being antagonistic because I wanted to get people like you who might just be apathetic in general, or spend your days arguing to uphold the DNC over Republicans, to start talking about what you're really engaging in, and hopefully realize that there are other things you can do as well or in place of. Much of that we're seeing right now. And to that end, it worked. Possibly to the detriment of my mental health, but the comments show that it definitely stirred up some noggins. I usually take the more understanding approach because that's what works best with me, but there is something to be said for bluntly stating an argument and kind of planting thought seeds for people to chew on. Now, I guess it's time to water those seeds a bit. So I think I should come back and talk with a little more nuance to keep things from seeming just so one-sided. So I'm going to go over some of the misconceptions that I saw a lot of pushback through the comments. Misconception number 1 is that I said to never vote or to only protest vote. That's not what I'm saying. Not once did I ever say never vote. As a matter of fact, I think voting is very useful, especially in local elections, as long as you're voting for someone who you think is truly valuable. I said, don't hand over your cards so easily. And there's 2 main reasons for this. One is it's basic bargaining tactics. If someone tells you you have to take what they offer or else, then you shouldn't just go with it. Make them earn it. Make them give you something in value in return. If you're constantly giving in, then what reason do they have to offer you anything of substance and actually carry through with it? There's been a proven trend of this. I mean, the Clinton campaign literally wrote down that they should abuse their own base as their primary strategy. I really recommend reading Listen Liberal, or Whatever Happened to the Party of People by Thomas Frank. It really lays out exactly how insidious this plan was and how it's really been working to our detriment. And the second reason is simply out of compassion. Like, even if we're doing it begrudgingly, when we support someone who rapes or fondles children or locks kids in cages or fought for segregation, we're telling the victims that their abuses simply aren't a good enough reason to stop supporting their abusers. And when I say support, I mean like support, like to lift up and uphold something, because that's what we're doing. Even if we hate doing it, we're lifting them up to a higher position of power. It doesn't mean you want to or that you're a bad person, but that's what's happening. And I'm not okay with being a part of that. The second misconception is that this is all just Bernie or bust. This one is like, I don't know. I mean, I said Bernie Sanders is not a god. He doesn't even hold a lot of my same values. Like, no. If what I said came across as, well, I only want Bernie, then we got some lines crossed somewhere along the way. They all suck, including Sanders. But a lot of people were willing to pinch their nose and compromise for Bernie because he was the only large candidate who had somewhat decent of a platform and a history of backing it up. Go lay down. There's going to be a dog in our shot. Fine. It didn't mean that I or most leftists really thought that he was going to bring about some huge revolution. He was just the one option in this toilet of candidates who was stomachable. Like, if I handed you a bowl of warm tapioca pudding and a bunch of bowls full of straight up pig shit, as long as that tapioca hadn't obviously been covered in the pig shit as well, you'd choose the tapioca, right? And if I took that one away, you're not going to be like, if you don't choose the least stinky bowl of pig shit, then you're helping the fascists. This might be an awkward time to actually say that I kind of like tapioca. But with Biden, we're talking like maybe a single drop of tapioca on a giant bowl of shit puree. I don't think it's fair to blame anyone who's not interested in taking that bowl. Another misconception is I'm saying Biden is worse than Trump. If this was your takeaway from the video, then again, you kind of missed the point. Or, I don't know, maybe I didn't explain it thoroughly enough. And yeah, to be fair, I spent like a lot of time shitting on Biden, so I'm not surprised people came to this conclusion. Honestly, I was going to originally take that entire part out, but it just didn't really work well without it because I had to set up some history and facts to show that Biden really isn't some savior and he is indeed another evil. And the things he's promising do not reflect his history. I don't know, maybe I went too long on that part, but truthfully, I had to omit so many bad things that I found out about him when I was researching him. And while is Biden worse than Trump isn't the argument I'm really interested in, like, Biden's really been making it hard lately to not make that equivalency. Things like saying Americans don't want a revolution when, like, I mean... And acting like he's listening and understanding the protesters when they say defund the police, and then says, okay, let's fund the police more. And then courting Kamala Harris as VP, like, could you imagine what's happening right now going on better if there was a VP that was a cop? All right, so I'm doing it again. It's just really easy. The point isn't which one is worse, it's that they're both deal breakers when there's other options outside of voting, and they are horrified of us taking those other options. Like what's happening right now on the streets, where we're making more headway than anything we've been offered in recent electoral politics, hands down. Honestly, I personally don't think they're that much different at all, except one's just a lot louder at it. Like, yeah, Trump goes out and says Antifa are officially terrorists and he may or may not act on it, but Biden would just go ahead and update the terrorist watch list and not make a giant statement about it. They're both doing really, really shitty things, but just at different decibel levels. And by the way, most of these cities that are brutally cracking down on protesters are run by Democrats. The next argument I saw a lot of was that I'm just being privileged. This one is one of those I'm going to get called this either way moments. I made a video a little while back saying I plan to vote for Bernie because I thought he's at least useful, and I got a lot of pushback from Black and Indigenous and people of color saying that my take was privileged. And yeah, I still think Sanders would have been useful, but I did listen to these comments. So now I come out and talk about how voting for whoever we're told to or else is bad, and I still get called privileged. So just like, fuck me? I mean, I showed the evidence with clinical studies that the majority of non-voters are underprivileged people. And by the way, I do have a lot of privilege, and I do recognize that, but I don't have like all the privilege. For one, I'm pansexual. So yeah, a lot of these policies do affect me. If I date or want to marry anyone outside of a cis woman, I've got to consider these things just like many other LGBTQ people do. On top of that, I'm not like the manliest man out there, whatever the fuck that means. I mean, I've got Softboy in the channel name, for fuck's sake. I don't identify right now as non-binary, but it's something I've been questioning, and I'd like to be able to question and consider that without fear. And it's when I'm considering these things that make me so afraid of the direction we're letting ourselves get dragged in. And of course, I'm not the only one saying these viewpoints. I'm not saying anything original, to be honest. There's tons of Black people, Indigenous, queer people, all kinds of marginalized people who've been saying these exact same points, just much more eloquently than I have. And I've also been guilty of playing this lesser evil game, by the way. I was contributing to the lesser evil all the way up until Hillary. So contrary to how Spicebeard was acting, I don't think you're a horrible person if you're voting Biden. But at some point, I had to look back at the path we're going down, and I couldn't keep being a part of it when there's so many better paths we can take, like direct action. Which leads to another argument I saw a lot of, which was, why not do both? Well, first, if you're saying that electoral politics shouldn't be the focus and we should be doing direct action, congratulations. We totally agree. If you came into the video already knowing this and already doing these things, then again, you weren't the focus of that video. But there's lots of people out there who don't know this, and that's who I'm trying to reach with these. To answer why not just go quickly vote because it's an easy thing and it doesn't hurt anything and then get back to real direct action is because, at least with someone like Biden, we are doing harm. Constantly voting for the lesser evil because we think we have to moves the compass to the right. It's their actual strategy, and it's working. We keep setting up a new floor for what we're willing to accept, and they keep taking it down another notch. I encourage everyone to look into the ratchet effect, which in a nutshell means we see 10 feet of ground and then they give us back 2. And then they force us to see 10 more, and so on and so forth. It's not some benign thing that only costs us a few hours of waiting in line. It does actual damage. And when it comes to Trump, I really do get it. We just want him out so bad. And I know I do too. But setting ourselves up for worse and worse really isn't going to help us out, especially when we're seeing what we can do with direct action right now. Which brings me to the one thing I definitely wish I had gone into more in the video, which is what these other options would look like. I told you that, you don't have to vote and we can lead us, but I guess I've spent too much time talking to leftists that I forgot there's a lot of people who don't really know what these options look like. Now, of course, there's no way I could ever cover the endless breadth of socialism and anarchism inside an already like 35-minute video, but I should have gone into more and given a little more insight into it. So yeah, I screwed up there. I'm going to leave links in the description to 2 really good intro videos, one about anarchism by Thought Slime, and another about general Marxism by Halim Al-Ra, and also a video series by Non-Compete that gives an easy to understand vision of what an anarchist society would look like once it's achieved. So check the description for those. And in the end, no, I don't think you're a shitty person for thinking you have to vote Biden. But hopefully you won't think I'm a shitty person for not being able to go in with that. And hopefully some of you have a little more to chew on now. And with everything that's going on right now, I think we're seeing that voting and calling it a day isn't all of our options. If you want more info or you've got other questions, but you're not just looking to be shitty, leave a comment down below and I'll see what I can help you with, or at least get you to where you need to go. And so that's it. I want everyone to stay safe, stay active. Definitely stay safe if you're going out, if you're participating in these protests. Yeah, I don't know how to end this video. Awkward.